wonderful things about the identity of children you must know. And I'll be reading from Psalm 127, from verse 3 to 5. And it says, "Don't you see that children are God's best gifts? The fruit of the womb, his generous legacy. Like a warrior's fistful of arrows are the children of a vigorous youth. Oh, how blessed are you parents, with your quivers full of children. Your enemies don't stand a chance against you. You will sweep them right off your doorstep." This is the Message translation. The King James Version says, "Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that has his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gates." Now, from what I've enumerated on the board, you can see the first point there is that children are God's best gifts. Not just God's gifts, but God's best gifts. Sometimes I ask myself, what have I done to deserve God's best gifts? You should ask yourself that question. What have we done as humanity to deserve God's best gifts? So God has reserved the best of what he has in the form of children. The next is that children are God's reward. And another translation says, they are God's generous legacy. I will give you the two interpretations. As God's reward, I see it this way. If you get married and after 1 year, you give birth, that is a gift from God. God has given you a gift. But if you have to wait for like 3, 4, 5 years and so on, and you eventually get a child, I see that as a reward from God. That is, God is rewarding you for the time you waited. So either way, God is giving you something nice, something beautiful. Then as a legacy is an inheritance, a property, money, land, a good name, a footprint that one transfers from one generation to the other. So God has reserved the best of the future in children. God has invested the best of the future in children. The next is that children are an instrument of war, both in the hands of God and in the hands of men. When God wants to do something new in humanity, when God wants to do something new on the earth, he invests that new thing in children. When God wants to bring a solution to the earth, he invests that solution in the form of a child. Like we see in the case of Jesus, and in the case of Moses, and in many other cases. I also told the story of a young man who confronted an elderly woman, and she had to call her son. When the son appeared on the scene, the guy took off because he couldn't stand the sun. You also know that when people grow old, their children stand around them as a defense. So children are an instrument of war. And that is why you cannot afford to abort any child, because you never can tell might be the solution to the world. Number 4 is that children are a source of blessing. He said, how blessed are you parents? You see, you may not have everything right now. You may not have money at your disposal. You may not have wealth. You may not have the material things of this world. But I tell you, if you have children, if you have a child, you have a tangible blessing from God. And the final point is that children are a token of victory. I want to encourage that mother, that father who is about to give up, who is struggling just to pay school fees, just to see that their children make it in life, their children advance and become something important, something useful. Don't give up. Your investment is worth it. They are gifts to you, they are reward to you, they are a legacy for the future, they are an instrument of war, they are a source of blessing, and they are a token of victory. You will definitely get my victorious. Thank you for staying tuned. See you in our next video.